A day late, but never a dollar short. We're going to explore Burgess Park, all the nooks and crannies. We're going to start off with the skate patch that I normally skate, and we're going to go through, and I'm going to show you how, even if you're not ready for street skating yet, there's a lot in the parks that you can find and explore and level up your skating. So this is going to be a longer video. I've got some background music playing, and I'm just going to talk you through a bit of a skate through Burgess Park. You know, we're going to put up a map here now. Here we go. You can see where we'll be exploring. And you'll see Burgess Park's quite big. And we are going to be looping in ourselves. And yeah, light commentary throughout as we just go through. So I hope this is useful. Please comment if this is not the kind of skate video you like, or if it is just a chill vibe. Is the music to your taste? Whatevs. So this patch I particularly like because it's very smooth, extremely smooth. Great place to practice your sliding. My soul slide isn't as good as it was end of last year. I had started getting a semi-okay soul slide. I can't really get it here. The other nice thing about this patch, other than it being smooth, is at nighttime those lights are always on because those are pedestrian park lights. That's just me going up. So that's a good place to do a bit of a darker skate, a nighttime skate. You'll see some old videos on the old channel where we've done some skating here. But yeah, I'm going to try and show you the various exits and entrances. You know, I encourage you to put on skates as soon as you feel comfortable when you get to the park. Maybe just outside the park, do a bit of pavement skating. You know, don't walk all the way into the park, find your patch, and then put on skates. Put on skates sooner, challenge yourself. I learned to jump on these little strips here because if I didn't make the jump, there was no real risk, and the path was very smooth, so it was a very safe place to learn jumping. So that's where I actually learned jumping. So the next patch, as we go off to the left here, it is a bit rougher, but it's by London standards still a pretty smooth skate. It's a nice longer section that you can skate. The ridge is a little bit rougher, but again, you shouldn't need to do anything special. Beginner skaters, great thing. Little hops. Again, I often use those strips as nice little practices for jumps, because when you're street skating and there's a little obstruction, often a small jump is all you need to get over it. So that's very useful. The other thing you need to remember with these long stretches is just to account for the other park users. People don't like to be zipped and zoomed too closely. You know, you might feel perfectly under control, but they might feel quite scared. On the right here, there is actually a project to develop some flats. There is a link I'll put on screen now. You know, we are trying to stop those flats going up because it would block quite a bit of sunlight. But yeah. So yeah, those bits there that I just hopped over, they're a little bit rougher. Oh, and here we're going to come up to one of the, I wouldn't use the word dangerous, but one of the more cautious bits. When you're street skating, you've got to be careful of crossroads. And here, you know, you need to look to your left, you need to see the stuff that's coming on, and you need to see the stuff to the right. And I've often used this intersection as really good emergency stop practice. Because if someone comes zooming along, it can get you in trouble, and people do on bikes go quite fast there. And also there's that little kids park there, which means children are often in the area. And you know, you've always got to be careful of kids because they're in their own world. They don't know what you can do on skates. So here's one of the tips, one of the corners of the park that we're going to get to. I like skating to the corners and exploring around. But there's actually quite nice skating just outside the park there, and there's a lot of easy ways to get into it from here. But yeah, these narrower, very smooth paths are a nice little exploration. You can go out and you can just get a bit more practice turning little tight turns and exploring, you know, your abilities in the park. Just playing around with some 1 foot and stuff. I don't play too much with my skates in this video because, you know, we are exploring the park. So there is that. Music rising there. Just doubling back on ourselves for a short bit. There's the crossroads again. Looks a bit different this far zoomed out, doesn't it? And now we're going to cut into the smoothest section of the entire park. Literally, there's no smoother surface I have found in the whole of Burgess Park. This one little strip of road. It is so slick and so smooth, and I love it. I love it so much. It's a really nice section. And if you're practicing stuff and you want to bail onto the grass left or right, the grass is always there for you. But here we're going to cut into a little short bit of street section. So this is only about 20 to 50 meters of street, but it's a little bit rough. It's a bit more realistic for what you can expect for the London streets, but it's also a cul-de-sac, so you can feel a bit safer when approaching it. But there are challenges because this little bit up here gets a little bit rougher. So it's a nice place to level up. You know, always be careful. Sometimes park users, like, they actually need assistance walking and you've got to give them more space. Oh, this cafe by the tennis courts, lovely place to pick up a little snack, especially now that the restrictions are lifting up. You know, it's really important we put some money back into our local businesses rather than Amazon and all that jazz. Oh, big tip. This is why we're here. This is the only water fountain still currently turned on in Burgess Park. This has been the one place I've been getting water in the last year, because all of the other fountains are turned off. And that's most of London parks are like that at the moment. There's a handful of taps here and there that aren't turned off. So yeah, by the tennis courts is the main entrance to Burgess Park. This is on Woolworth Road. The surfaces here aren't too bad. They aren't great, but they're definitely on the rougher side. But you'll also notice when we just zip out the gate and back in, the pavement here is very skateable. You know, street skate doesn't mean you have to skate in the road. Often the road is the smoothest place and sometimes the safest place. It's not always the funnest place though. But that's why I like exploring parks and finding these little nooks and crannies. And also when you're building up your endurance and you're just learning to skate distance, it's nice to have something a bit more interesting than just doing laps like I do in the underground park by my flat. One thing that seems to have happened in the last year is that one side of this has seemed to have deteriorated and turned to sand over there. So I'm just skating around it back onto the tarmac patch. So all through the park there's these little side exits which are nice little detours to wander up and explore, just like the one we skated past there. I'm not going to skate up and down them all. They're basically just dead ends. Well, not dead ends, they're exits to the park. But they're nice little challenges for you to skate up, maybe practice a little bit of stopping or 1 foot or whatever. It's interesting, you know. It's always fun to hunt out those little bit of manhole covers, you know, the little bit of rough surface here and there in the park. Like just here by this bench, there's a bit of a rougher surface. And it was actually the first rough surface I skated when I got back on skates. I remember it initially being something that terrified me. Now it's just something I roll. But you know, that's how we level up. Yeah, my first intersection here where I actually had one of my first wipeouts, ironically while my wife was on a picnic blanket just in the corner there, and I was taking one of my early turns and I wiped out on that. Also to the side there's a little bit of a corner short path, and it's also a bit of a downhill, uphill you can explore, doing things like circling the fort there, fun little things. And you'll see we've now come back to where we started, the patch skate is off to the side. But now the important thing is we can continue, right? Because there was a path we didn't take, and that path is down the tunnel. Now the tunnel is probably the riskiest obstacle in Burgess Park. You've got to be very careful with your speed, with skaters, with kids. You never know when a cyclist is going to come tearing through. Be very confident in your T-stop. This is a really, really good level up obstacle. Now, if you're not confident enough with it, you can take it very slowly, or there is an overroad that you can cross over the road as well. So you don't have to do the tunnel. But you know, the tunnel is really good practice, especially for your T-stop. Yeah. This is a good level up, right? But don't let the tunnel stop you crossing the road, because just as we're skating off here to the right of screen or to my left, there is a path that'll take you past the performance hall, and there is a traffic light crossing on the street level. It's a little bit rough in patches, but even a very new skater can take it slow and be fine. So just off there to the back, you'll see the road crossing, as it were. Yeah, Burgess Park is filled with these little secret ways and means. One of my favorite little secrets in the park, not for skating, but if it's a great place for a photo shoot, as my wife would say, is there's a little hidden garden place that if you go into that courtyard, and then off to the left there's a little garden you can walk through and around the building. It's just one of those places that most people don't know about, but very, very nice. The elephant drinking fountain, sadly off at the moment. So this whole section here, it's a different flat patch to skate. Sometimes when the BMXs are dominating the main skate patch, I use this patch. Here we're discovering another skater. I always stop to just have a conversation when I see a new skater in Burgess Park, and I just sort of direct them to the BMX skate patch. Just because skating so often, well, first of all, most people get their skates around Christmas, which, you know, it's a hard time to start skating, but that's what the sales data says, is most people get skates around Christmas. But then the other challenge is when you start skating, yeah, it's much better now with YouTube and everything, but it can be tough. Like, how did you start skating? Did you have a friend? Did you just start watching YouTube videos? Did you find a local skate group, you know? I find people who hook up with the skate community, even in a very light way, will continue to skate for many more years, and they'll get that assistance, right? Because the video you're watching or the tutorial you're seeing can't look at you and go, oh, you need to bend your knees more, or your skates are too tight, or I'm hearing one of your wheels is a bit loose, you know. So it's nice, you know, hook up with your local skating community, you know, connect, find your local skate shop, find your patches. London has a thriving skate scene, and that's one of the things I'm trying to just sort of show off here a bit more. Oh, this kids park, by the way, it's always rammed with kids, except really, really early in the morning, and then you can actually just weave through on the nice little up and downs there. There's a nice little path there. But be very careful. There's this sort of fake concrete rubber stuff that's used in playgrounds there, but it's also sometimes used around sculptures in London, and if you hit that stuff, it is like glue to your wheels. It'll stop you and it'll make you face plant. Oh, here's another crossroads section that we've got to be aware of. Again, cyclists coming through and such, and here I'm making a fast decision because it was a big crowd, and the cyclist I thought I'd be following actually hit the dirt. So I just had to kill speed and get through people. Again, the big thing with park skating is you don't want to zip and zoom and freak people out. One of my favorite things to do if I think people are unaware of me is I'll just tap a wheel, or I'll do a very short slowdown with a sort of T-stop, but not a real stop, and that little sound will just inform them that I'm behind them in a non-alarming way. And that's kind of my gentle poke or prod to let people know I'm there, you know. So now we're skating by one of my favorite bits to just lap, which is the lake in Burgess, or the pond, I suppose you'd call it more accurately. It's a nice little smooth section to skate around. It's got a lot of people around here, but you know, it is quite lovely, and you can get some very nice shots here. Sadly, this was quite a cloudy day, so we didn't get much, but you know, it's there. Now here we've got this lovely downhill that we can, it's a little dip valley that we can just zoom down, and we can build up a bit of speed for the uphill, and we can go up. Shame, that poor little girl on the pink scooter was a little bit scared because I was coming in and I was trying to give her a lot of room, but her parent was yelling and got scared. Oh, that's another exit. It's by the big Tesco, so you know, very, very good exit off there. Now here you could continue straight, but there's this lovely little side path that you can kind of wind through, and these are the lovely little bits I like to find, because it provides a few more twists and turns. It's got a bit of a gradient. It's just a bit more interesting to skate, you know, than a straight narrow path. And this is what I love about skating parks, but also alleyways and little nooks and crannies. For me, street skating is more about getting from A to B and then enjoying the skate at the particular patch or the particular alleyway, rather than just, you know, I don't enjoy skating among cars and going fast on the road. I'd much rather go fast on a runway or a large park stretch, you know, more room to fail friendly. Skating through pigeons there. Yeah. Having that safety to fail is always lovely, you know. It just puts you in a playful mindset. Yeah, it's just a great stretch here. And now there's a parent and some kids on bikes, clearly new to biking, so I'm being careful here as I approach them. But again, this is a nice winding path, lots of fishermen and stuff on the path, and often you'll have people walking the full width of the path that you've got to negotiate with. But again, it's just another challenge, another way to level up your skating. You could have taken the path you see behind me on the right there. You can circle around these toilets, and you can go around the back there. There's a nice little thing there. But again, I'm taking a more curvy, interesting path here for me. You know, I can't show you every little bit of tarmac in the park, but I'm definitely hitting up all the main arteries and all the little side distractions you might not have seen. So that bridge, technically you're not meant to go over it, but it's quite fun to skate over. Now here, you can go left and right. If you take that path behind me, you'll hit a bit of small stretch of road, and you can then turn right and you can cut up to the section we'll eventually get up to. It is a shorter way that way, but of course we are exploring the full extent. And again, that's not a cul-de-sac, it is a through road, but it's a relatively safe, small patch of road that you can start learning to skate on and get more comfortable with road surfaces. So that little stretch we went through there, when the barbecue section is open, there is often people running around, lots of little kids, and there's not a ton of room. Again, it's a bit more of a challenge, but these challenges, especially people and unexpected obstacles, is what will level you up with skating. And learning in a park, you've always got the grass. You know, just roll into the grass. Don't roll into the lake because you can't swim with skates on. I mean, you can, but it's extremely difficult. You know, don't do that. Skates are heavy. just roll onto the grass. The grass is your friend. Wiping out on the grass is never a problem. They're trying to rejuvenate this entire patch, by the way, which is why it's fenced off to the one side there. But you can see now we're coming back towards the tunnel, but instead of going on to the tunnel in the main stretch, you see this intersection with like 5 different paths, we're actually going to cut off onto a very small side road there. See, if I went into that forward path there, that would take me onto the main sort of stretch. But this thinner, smaller side road, first of all, it's smoother because it doesn't have any trees. Whenever you see trees above a path, the chances are the path's a little bit more pitted and rough because the acidity of the tree leaves and the tree seeds basically is there to wear into the ground so the trees can find better purchase, but it wears away tarmac. So this is a nice open, smooth, narrow stretch, and again it's just something a bit more interesting to explore. Now there, that little side path down there, that is rough, but it is totally skatable and it's a nice little shortcut through. And if you want an experience of a slope that is a bit rougher, it's a good place to skate. Really, really good place to skate. Now again, the temptation on this path is to go really fast, but you do need to be careful. The path is quite narrow, and if you go too fast, you might just have to do an emergency stop or bail onto the grass, because you'd be surprised how reluctant people are to leave the path. And it's unfair to expect people to, get out of your way. They're as much right to be in the park as you do. Ooh, so that's a bit ahead. We could skate onto the road and the rough surface and then turn. What I actually do here is something you can quite often do is on skates you can roll a bit of dirt or a bit of grass, and that's really handy sometimes, getting comfortable with that. So here I'm just going to roll a bit of dirt to save having to do a little bit more navigation around that corner bit. I first rolled that bit of dirt when I was trying to avoid a pram and like 2 talking mothers at the gate, and there was just no good option, so it was either emergency stop or the dirt, and I was like, let me try the dirt. And I did. Here we are by that main stretch with the cherry blossoms, but we're not going to stay on here long. We're going to go down one of these side paths. Again, really nice deep incline. You saw the cracks and stuff. Real texture to these surfaces that'll level up your skating. Getting you used to stopping on inclines, and just dealing with more narrow skate surfaces, because often you don't have all this wide open room to skate with. So this is really, really nice. These are basically just a series of side entrances into the park, but they provide this lovely zigzag path that is just a bit more interesting, a bit more appealing to skate. Really is a nice relaxing zigzag here, and it's also away from the main stretch, so these little side paths tend to be very quiet. So even when the park's quite busy, these bits are quite quiet, and because most of the pedestrians take the long straight sand paths, the tarmac is usually available for you to skate. Nice little cobbled section that you have to step over. You can roll it as well, but it's also good jump practice. Once you're a bit more confident in your jumps, I wouldn't recommend it as your first jump, because if you land a bit short it'll catch, but it's definitely a nice thing to learn to roll rougher stuff, not to be afraid of that stuff. Something I did as a new skater, I think a lot of new skaters do, is when you're afraid of a surface like that, you slow down, and ironically those surfaces are much easier to roll when you've got a bit of speed under your belt. If if things are going slow, the wheel's more likely to catch, you're more likely to fall in. So that's how it is. There's the bridge, by the way, the other path down to the connecting path that I pointed out, the rougher one. And behind me, if we go straight that way, there's the tunnel. But now we get this long, slightly rougher stretch that's just really fun to explore. So this is actually where I did some of my earliest speed skating. My, skate as fast as I think I can skate because it's a nice wide stretch. It is a bit rougher, but it does mean that the chances of you being able to turn to avoid someone rather than having to kill your speed are much, much higher. So I would do these sprint sections from usually the traffic light to the bridge, or maybe just past the bridge, and then I'd turn around and I'd do it again. Those kind of sprints really build up your power and your endurance. And the cherry blossom trees are always lovely in this section. So there we go, we've crossed over ourselves again, and that row of cherry blossom trees are just lovely. And if you ever get tired, you can just pull onto the grass and collapse for a bit, which I have done. That time of year where all the petals are coming out. Oh, I love this time. Do wish it had been more sunny. You're going to see, if the weather report's right, a few more underground skates in the next days to come. Just because we're expecting a bunch of rain and freezing weather. But at the moment, it was a good skate. A very good skate. Yeah. And here we are at the traffic light. I often use traffic lights as just a chance to take a breather, If it's green, I go. But if it's red, I generally wait. Because, it's one of those things of, if you're in the wrong at a traffic light, like normally you can zip across and you're fine. But you've got no defense to stand on, and it does just give you a chance to breathe. Nice little smooth downhill here, really, really lovely. And we're going to just turn into the right here, but this turning has a bit of a metal bar and a bit of a rough patch, so you got to be careful how you roll it. It's actually fine, but yeah. And then you've seen this on the first video from this month, but now I'm going in the opposite direction. Here's the way down the canal path, exploring all the way down to Peckham, into the Peckham Library is where we're going to be going. But yeah, the Burgess Park, among all the parks in London, is one of the most L-shaped, strange parks. There's a lot of places to get into it, and you might be heading to that skate patch by the BMX area, and you could arrive there, then put on your skates, or you could just find the nearest bit of tarmac, put on your skates, and then skate to the patch, and you'll find, getting from A to B on your skates just levels you up with all these different surfaces, different roughness, a bit of elevation here and there. It really helps. And, it's true for so many of the London parks. They have a nice bit of skate area that everyone loves to skate, and if you put on your skates sooner, maybe skate a bit of pavement, maybe skate some of the unfamiliar places, you'll just level up faster. And you'll find more interesting places to skate. Not everyone has to skate the Serpentine in Hyde Park. And some of the smaller parks are interesting to skate as well. That's kind of my joy of skating is finding those little places to skate, especially with a friend. I normally skate with Tay a lot, but haven't really had a chance to skate with him in a while. Maybe we'll get to skate with him this month. Be nice. But current circumstances have made things a bit tough for that. But yeah, having one or two skate friends with you. No more. I think once you've gone above 3 skaters, the dynamic changes. But if it's just like 2 or 3 of you who are relatively confident with some transitions and stuff, you can explore a lot of London on wheels, and that's where you get to have a lot of fun. Yeah, I really do enjoy it. I think this weekend I'll show you a bit more of London on the wheels, depending on how weather goes. The weather doesn't look comforting, but before the month is out, you'll definitely see more of the city. I am finding my fitness is coming back to me. My muscles are warming up, and I'm just getting a bit more confident after that sort of cold period of no skating and the winter lockdown. But you know, all the illness is cleared, and the cobwebs are being blown off, the sun is coming out, and it's just time to skate more. Remember how I said trees will pit the path? You'll see here certain kinds of trees are worse for others, but if you're ever skating an unfamiliar path and you see a bunch of trees above the path, especially anything with pine needles or anything that's a bit more evergreen, the path is probably pretty pitted below that, and it can be quite localized pitting, which can, give you a bit of a surprise. Those surprise surfaces are part of what skating's about. And thanks again, by the way, if you're here this far into the video. If you're this far into the video, just without explanation, just post your favorite fish in the comment. It doesn't have to be a fish you want to eat, just goldfish, whatever. I'd be amused to just see, for no reason, a bunch of fish commentary in the comments. I don't know why that amuses me, but it does. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the skate here. We're nearing towards Peckham Library. I thought this would be a nice area to skate when I first moved into this area. Oh, there's a little speed control thing there you've got to be careful of. And it can be quite nice to skate, but especially if you're a solo skater, I'd be a bit careful here, partly because there's a large amount of foot traffic that goes through, but also because it does seem to be an area that people like to get around to have a drink or just hang around, and because of its proximity to Peckham Rye, you might get a little bit hassled. But there's a covered area here to skate in the rain, which is lovely. Unfortunately, it seems to be the area with the most broken glass on the floor and stuff like that. So, if there's a handful of you, I think skating here could be really nice, but I wouldn't solo skate this area. Maybe once lockdowns open up and more people are using the library, this will be a nice area to skate, but at the moment, not really. But we're coming up to the end here, the alleyway, and this takes you all the way from into Peckham. See, Burgess Park is lovely. It's filled with lots of nooks and crannies, and honestly, London's filled with nooks and crannies, and I hope you get out and explore them.